meeting of the South Record Board of Education together at 6:33. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you call the roll, please, Madam Secretary?
Yes, ma'am. Daniel Winston, absent. Anthony Johnson.
Present.
Lori Hicks, absent. Misha Early.
Present.
Cheryl Flesher.
Present.
Savannah Flesher, present. Shirley Tolliver.
Present. Next item on the agenda is approval of agenda. Are there any corrections? There are no corrections to the agenda. The agenda will be as read. Next item on the agenda is superintendent communications. Mr. Powell.
Thank you, Madam President. So it is a privilege for me this evening to acknowledge February's staff member of the month over at Vandenberg Elementary School, which is our very own Amy Shilby. And she's being recognized for her amazing, completely unprecedented continued support for the What I Need Now groups taking place over at Vandenberg Elementary School, which are very organized, and the What I Need Now groups over at Vandenberg are running extremely well. Amy is also a wealth of information, and she's also a lot of fun to be around, and she is effective in very many ways, especially when it comes to teaching our students reading skills over at Vandenberg Elementary School. One of her colleagues shares that Amy is a staff member who simply looks out for everyone, both students and staff. She continuously pours out her heart and soul into our children. She constantly goes above and beyond to do what is in the best interest of our students over at Vandenberg Elementary School. And so with that, Vandenberg would like to recognize our very own Amy Shilby over at Vandenberg Elementary School as Student of the Month for February. Also, each board member will notice, and Cabinet has already received theirs, but you also have your Black History t-shirts that are on the backs of your chair. And so you'll see this year's logo. And so please feel free to wear those proudly in our final week of Black History Month. But you'll notice that it's South Redford celebrates Black History, not only during the month of February, but we always do. And so a friendly reminder that we have two events taking place this week, both at Jefferson as well as at Vandenberg Elementary School. And so the board has already received those details. Please note again the change of the details at Jefferson because tomorrow is voting with it being a primary election. So some of the details for Jefferson shifted, and then we also have the details for Vandenberg taking place this week. If board members are interested, you're certainly welcome to come out and see some of the great things that are happening throughout the district. And that concludes my communications this evening, Madam President.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the board communications. Can I have Wayne County Association of School Boards will be offering a CBA class, CBA 327, Ethics in Action, on March the 14th, and from 6 to 9. And on March the 23rd, which is a Saturday, Culturally Competent Leaders, CBA 255, from 9 to noon. That's it. Next item on the agenda is comments from audience, topics related to the agenda. Are there any? There are none. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a board member willing to adopt the consent agenda?
To the chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move the adoption of the following resolution, please.
Do I have a support? Support. It's been moved by Mrs. Flesher and supported by Mrs. Early. All in favor?
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays. adopted. Next item on the agenda is the SREA, SROPA, SRF reports. I see
Probably just me.
Sue.
Madam President, we also have Carrie Pastor here from the
Oh,
SRO
okay.
as well.
But I'm still not presenting today.
Nothing
Oh,
tonight.
Nothing to
okay,
present.
all right.
Thank you. Sue, do you have things?
I do. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a few things tonight. Our office, Student Services Office, is pretty busy as usual. With the addition of the new ASD resource classroom this year, my supply ordering has increased even more than normal. And we've also received additional funds from the county, 3% of last year's budget to spend on the ASD program. So I'm just getting ready on putting a bunch of orders in for that. The program is very grateful for that. We are again in the middle of the February count period, so I'm going to be working very closely with teachers with finalizing their reports over the next few weeks, and then getting that final report to Amy Wishow, who I love. Amy is great. We're very sad to see Ashley go when she left, but so completely grateful that Amy stepped in and just didn't really miss a beat. I work really closely with her, and she's very attentive, very responsive, just great. And she really likes it here, and we're really lucky to have her. I did have a couple of weeks in November and December. It's my slower period, if I have one, to catch up on some things, and merging pretty old closed files from speech teacher into my files. Most of those are already digitized, so that's been kind of an interesting project. And I had Reva Money is our district clerk, the floater. I did get to have her come over and help me. She doesn't come to my office a lot. I don't need her a lot, but she was able to come over and help me with that. So it was good to get to know her better and have her help me with that, and she'll be back again. And I appreciate her. She was over at Adams for several weeks when Chris was out, and did a good job over there for Chris. Pierce wanted to report on a couple of sports things. The Pierce 8th grade girls basketball team remains undefeated. And then last week, the Pierce cheer team won the cheer dance junior division state championship, and the Pierce spirit team won the hip hop junior division state championship. That was exciting, very exciting. Thurston also, the boys swim team won their 4th conference championship and had an undefeated season. The Thurston boys bowling team finished 3rd overall at regionals. The Thurston boys basketball team will be competing in the district quarterfinal game tonight at 7. 6 athletes have verbally committed to play sports in college and will be hosting signing days over the next few weeks. Very exciting. Thurston will be hosting the MSBOA Band Festival, March 8th and 9th. The students at Thurston are participating in Black History Month Spirit Week, dressing up and representing influential African Americans. Next week, counselors will be meeting with students to start scheduling classes for next year. And parent-teacher conferences are going to be March 14th. Progress reports will be made viewable to all families and students. The last thing I have is from Angie Naylor, who says enrollment is going well. She is our enrollment coordinator. She's working well with the schools. They're all working well together to make sure that we're welcoming and communicating with parents and assist them in whatever they need to do to finish enrollment. She said the 24-25 pre-enrollment application opened February 12th, and they're already receiving applications for next year.
All right, I have a question.
Sure. Don't ask me what MSBOA is.
No. The band festival is March what?
It is March 8th and 9th.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All righty.
Madam President, may I just make a brief comment about the report for the foundation?
I was gonna do that.
Or
Go
if
ahead.
you,
Go ahead.
by all means, please.
Okay. We're trying to get together our foundation, South Redford Foundation, and we met last week,
Mhm.
and we'll be meeting again next week.
This week.
Oh, this week,
Mhm.
okay, that's good. And that's it. Go ahead.
The only thing I would add is that we're in the midst of building out a new executive board team from the foundation. For the previous board, they served in that capacity for quite some time. And so we're in a new chapter, and so we're taking the opportunity to try to bring in some new executive board members to the South Redford Foundation. So for those of you that have been around for a while, the foundation has been very rich to the district for a lot of years. And so we're looking forward to the next chapter of the foundation, and so, yeah, we're well on our way. Thank you, Madam President.
All righty. Next item on the agenda is the presentation of student services. Mr. Mark.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Lisa Ormitich and Kyla Page to talk with us about all things happening this school year in the Student Services Department, as well as Sue, who is here this evening as well, serving in double capacity. So with that, I will turn it over to the three of them.
All righty.
What Sue didn't mention is that our forms changes from the county have been horrific for our staff and have created so much stress and extra time. So our staff have done wonderful trying to address that. Sue has been a wonderful help. Amy's been a wonderful help as we've worked through some substantial changes that happened in a very bad time of year. So, yeah, so that's something that a lot of our staff had to deal with, that we just kind of rolled with the punches, so that's not fun. And I had Kyla joining me. She is going through the same Grand Valley program that I did for her administrative piece, and she's doing her supervisor practicum with me, and we'll do her director practicum with me, and she's always incredibly helpful to have in any capacity that we can have her help with. So she's going to help me present the information, and she has a unique view being in the buildings at the elementaries and stuff. We have, as usual, we have our big three rocks that are part of, the Michigan Integrated Continuous Improvement Plan and sort of our district focus. So looking at those relationships and responsiveness, and that ties to the safe, nurturing environment for all and families as supportive partners. Looking at safety, including the learning environment, and that's under safe, nurturing environment for all. And curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and looking at guaranteed viable curriculum, high quality instruction, and assessment evidence. So as a lot of you know, there are, when we think of student services, we have an umbrella of services that are contained under that label. The biggest being the students with disabilities. So that's including both students with IEPs and 504 plans. McKinney-Vento is our students that fall under homeless, and even foster care is kind of under that piece as well. Margaret Lincoln has been somebody who has helped me tremendously. She does a lot. Her heart is in supporting students that are both under foster care and find themselves in situations that designate them as homeless. Our social emotional learning has been a huge focus, especially increased after the pandemic and the needs that we saw coming back to in-person learning, and we still continue to see that need and the need for support there. The Wellness Committee, and that's what I forgot to ask Chris, who my designated member of the board is to join me on the Wellness Committee. So I'm not sure, last year it was
I don't know off the top
Daniel.
of my head.
No, last year was Daniel. Oh, Misha! All right, join me, Misha. So I will be scheduling those soon. Preschool and kids care, this is something that Kyla helps and has been really leading a lot of the support for getting the staffing in place, along with, James, HR has been tremendously helpful. Amy has been tremendously helpful from the grant funding standpoint and the curriculum side of that. So that is a huge project as we've really expanded the GSRP programming, as you know, and continue to look at our preschool programming and kids care. The behavior committee is something we're continuing, and we did just meet recently for the elementary Behavior committee meeting. We have some upcoming meetings for the other secondary groups, and then some other ones that we'll report out as usual toward the end of the year for the board. Sex ed advisory is something I'm kind of newish to kind of being involved with, but as we expand our programming for some of our more disabled students, we could see how specialized sex ed advisory might look a little different for some of our populations that are not verbal, et cetera. So we can see how students with disabilities might need to have some input there. And then Suicide Prevention Coalition, I continue to participate in the Western Region Suicide Prevention Coalition, and we meet pretty regularly. As you know, Brian continues to be on that, participating as a GrowthWorks, part of that grant that we have from GrowthWorks. To continue that work, we met a couple weeks ago, and we continue to meet regularly to align some of the systems we have across the Western region, and have added some partners too. So.
And we were the host for the last suicide prevention here at the district over at Thurston. So we had all the counselors, therapists over at Thurston for that learning.
In addition to probably about 400 people from across the county, so even beyond the Western region, we had a number of social workers, psychologists, et cetera.
If I may, real
Yeah.
quick, that was the November professional development. Some of you I know were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Kyle and I met with a social work group and counseling group to look at how some of our crisis intervention and our suicide risk assessments, procedures, forms, things like that.
Yes.
So, diving into our data, I definitely know that we always are a little bit at a disadvantage when it comes to students with disabilities compared to our general ed students. We are seeing that although we have some really bright spots, looking at the grade 4, our proficiency is above the county and state for the ELA, as is the grade 5. Our third grade is a concerning area, and I do wonder, as I think about the foundations for some of those early years, we are seeing the impact of, I know COVID seems like it's far away now, but we know that some of those foundational years for reading skills do happen in kindergarten and first grade, and those would have been a year of some of our closures. When we look at the math, and this is MSTEP, PSAT, and SAT, we do see that our grade 5 proficiency is above the county and state, as is our grade 6 proficiency. And we do, have a somewhat closer alignment with our county and state averages than we do for the ELA. Obviously we want to look at how we're supporting math and some of those other areas in the 7th grade and beyond. Clearly we want to do better for all of our students with disabilities as we try to build their skills and reduce gaps between them and our students in our general ed. For science, our grade 5 is above the county and only 1% below the state. We do have some, areas of concern for 8th grade and 11th grade, and I do wonder if this, kind of is a reflection of some of how we provide our supports for special education. A lot of our co-taught classes are primarily in ELA and math, so we might see that even as that content gets harder and gets to involve a lot more comprehension of material, we might need to look at how we're providing supports for some of those grade levels, even as they continue into the upper grades. So I would say the same for 8th grade and 11th grade for, for social studies. Although our grade 5, is just 1% below the county. We still want to see improvement in all of those areas. So here's what, we do see that ELA, 4th and 5th grade are above state and county averages or percentages. Math, 5th and 6th grade are above both state and county. Science and social studies, again, looking at whether those poor outcomes in 8th and 11th grade could make us look at and reflect on how we're providing our model of support for special education. Maybe needing to look at more opportunities for co-taught support in those grades. And then just kind of looking overall at the different target strengths and weaknesses for the overall data. So what? When we identify MSTEP, we're kind of trying to look at whether the building level staff can look at where they're having both strengths and need areas by students. So our students or our special ed resource teachers taking a look at how their students performed on these measures, and also those students that haven't shown growth that we would like to see. You know, also whether we can see some of those students that were maybe close to being proficient and whether we can perform, provide more accommodations to get them to that level where they would become proficient. You know, some of the things that I think we do as an elementary group and continue to try to do even with our administrators is analyze the barriers to success. We are seeing fairly high caseload numbers. We're seeing a significant increase in our referrals overall. You know, so even though our enrollment for our overall enrollment as a district has been somewhat flat, we are seeing increased special education numbers and, like I said, high referrals. So if we think about sort of what's been happening, the CDC will tell you that we're seeing increases in ASD. Every year we hear more and more, or higher and higher percentages of students that become eligible under the autism spectrum disorder. And I think that's only been exacerbated since a lot of our students didn't have some of the early on services, and some of the referrals that normally would have happened sort of took a pause during the time when we had the pandemic and there were parents couldn't even get kids to go into doctor's appointments. So we're seeing the sort of boomerang effect of that in I think both our early childhood special education programs and some of our kindergarten classrooms. And then where does that lead us, or what do we need to look at? So strengthening Tier 1 instruction and also inclusion of students with disabilities and high quality general education instruction. The research really does show that when you rise all boats, you see that increase in the scores for students with disabilities, and that's something that we talk a lot about with the curriculum department is how can we strengthen what our instruction looks like across the board, and also how can we increase our intervention components with students that are at risk. I believe the increased collaboration between general education and special education is part of that. That's so important for kind of breaking down some of those barriers and looking at how we can help special ed or general ed teachers learn some of the strategies that our special educators are really pretty keyed into, and utilizing that with a larger group of students. Also, just focused discussions about how to scaffold instruction and use differentiated output. So differentiated output is something that's a big thing when you look at the ASD START grant, but it also has applications for all students. So if you have students who might need a little bit things broken down or might need chunking of material, so it's really just good strategies for how to provide instruction at different levels and different levels of support based on individualized needs. So if more of our general ed teachers are aware of some things that can be those strategies, that can help their success in the general ed curriculum. And then also continued support, like we mentioned, for the social emotional needs of our students, as we've seen the increases in that need, and we continue to try to look at our efforts with our behavior committee, the increase in our supports at the building level. Our coaches do an amazing job. We love Rachel Wicker, and we really felt her absence when she was out on a maternity leave in the fall, but she's back with us and has continued to show the efforts of really having wraparound meetings and really kind of going back to what we know are evidence-based procedures. And looking at progress monitoring towards student special education goals and objectives, making sure we're collecting data. I did just send someone from I think almost every building. I don't think my high school person could go, but there was a how to look at and collect data for special education students, and I had someone from every elementary, a couple represented from cross-categorical, some represented from our resource teachers and our middle school department head, so that we could really talk about how to collect data for goals and objectives, how we're making accommodation plans for our students, looking at behavior supports and collecting data about discipline. So I went as well, and we're going to be getting together and talking about that in our departmental meetings. So I know this is like data rich, and I did kind of, I believe you have it in your packet, the 23 and the 24 strand report. And it is very confusing sometimes because even though it says, like the most recent one is from January 2024, you can see in the data year that includes the school year from 2021, and some of them are even 22, 23. So not all of them are from the 23-22 school year. It's sort of like looking backwards a little, but I do have some general trends that I wanted to share. We had, and I think it actually is really indicative of a sort of bouncing back from the pandemic that I was really encouraged to see. If you look at our grad rates from the 23, it was 71%, but of course that's the 19-20 school year when we had COVID, and we had kids that just didn't necessarily finish up that school year and graduate. And now we're 100% for this latest strand report. So that's quite an improvement from one to the other. When we also look at the increased rate in our educational environments, we're seeing more of our students in general ed environments, and we met our target in 24 for the educational environments, meaning we want kids more in gen ed, with very few leaving to go out to a special ed classroom. Whereas in 2023, we did not meet that target. When you look at, and you may not want to look at this too much, but we did see a huge increase in the percentage of children ages 3 to 5 with IEPs attending a regular ed environment. So basically our preschool programs. Even if it's a kid with a speech IEP, we want them to have access to language-rich models. We don't want to have a lot of our students in the small self-contained classrooms if they can find success in our preschool programs. So we went from a 5.26% to 16.6%. That is a huge increase. And probably some of that is COVID related. If you look at the 2023 data, that is from the 2021 school year, which is the year that we had the shutdowns. So of course, we didn't have gen ed preschool. We didn't even run them. So there's no way, I don't think we could have made our target because we just didn't run preschool programming during that shutdown. So of course we were going to see an increase, but we were actually doing pretty well compared to our county peers. I wasn't able to get the data, but this is a notoriously difficult area to succeed in. A lot of the county is really working on preschool environments, and I'm actually participating in a Wayne Lisa Early Childhood Preschool LRE group, so we can focus our efforts on that. So we really have done and seen a lot of improvement in those areas. I don't want to go over all of these. You have access to it. These are just the 13 areas that students can be eligible in for special education. And then some quick statistics that really talk about just how many students we have with IEPs that are actually in South Redford. We serve about 70 students, give or take, that are in out-of-district programs in different areas because they're in center programs that we do not have. We have the 4 ASD center programs, the 5 cross-categorical classrooms, and lots of special ed staff and a lot of staff in general that fall under that huge umbrella that we talked about earlier. And I don't want to belabor this one either. I think you guys have seen the LRE continuum again, but again, the whole basis or foundation of the special ed law is that we serve most of our students with, that have needs at the general ed level, and really look at less and less percentage of students having those more restricted placements as we, look at the numbers or the percentages. Okay. And you have seen this this slide before, and you'll probably see it in the behavior committee slide. So I'll let our behavior committee sort of take this one on a little bit more. But again, it's just talking about how we need to look at the roots of some of the behaviors that we see. I do think every year we've seen some improvement in sort of our processes and how we're helping to support students. So we are starting to see some real successes. And lastly, some celebrations. We have increased our peer-to-peer opportunities in our ASD program. So we have initiated the Unified PE class. So basically that's a gym class that is co-taught with Sarah Gleason and Ben Snader over at Pierce. And we have a one-to-one student with a disability, those students in our ASD and our cross-categorical classrooms, along with a general ed peer. And that has been going really well. We also have seen music appreciation for our students on the autism spectrum. We had some great opportunities to go on some community-based instruction, which was supported by our ASD budget, and continue to want to have those opportunities for our students to experience the community and have opportunities to meet with their peers. And we had a great time, you can see me in one of the tie-dye shirts, in our extended school year program that we're on at Jefferson this past summer. So we made some really nice visuals for our students. We kind of made a little logo. Lisa went a little crazy with the tie-dyeing along with the teachers, and the kids participated in every single messy part of it, but it was a lot of fun. So we're hoping we have a great extended school year program this summer, which will be at Adams, and we might even see, I think, Portia and Kyla helping a little with that as we break up some of the supervision of that. But it was a great opportunity to, have our kids extend their learning. So, any questions?
To the chair?
Yes.
I have a question for them.
Yes.
On the pages for our proficiency, where our 8th graders and 11th graders 0?
I wonder-
Can you tell me how many actually students in those grades, 8, and 11, that impacts that 0? Because it's really hard to swallow 0.
Nadia and I could not find that data when we were looking. So Nadia Macklin and I went over the information. And last year when she was trying to look at where Mary Ruth found the information for the year before, there were some that looked like they just didn't have enough to create a subgroup. But then I'm not sure why it said there was 0 proficiency. We were looking on my school data and really struggled to find that, because that was one of the questions I had too.
Mhm.
And, it is kind of hard to say, none of our kids were proficient. That's
Right.
kind of scary. Yeah.
Even 1, I mean, it's just hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
0, no, nothing.
So some of the areas that I'd like to dive into a little bit more, I'm just not quite sure where, I didn't generate that data, and I think when we tried to explore that, I don't know how we find some of that. So we did have that question when we were looking over the information for the slide though. So I wish I could answer it better for you.
I'd say thank you, but I'm,
Yeah.
we don't want to hear that we can't find the
Yeah.
data when we make data-driven decisions, and to have a big fat 0 there it's hard.
I do think we probably could have an opportunity to go in and look at the individual students who did assess and their scores, whether they were collectively included as a subgroup. And it is possible that whatever small subset, 4 kids, 2 kids,
Mhm.
did not meet, or however many at that grade level in that content area, did not meet that proficiency.
Right.
But it would be worth the dig, so I'll be happy to
I
get
would
that
really
information from
appreciate
Nadia.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
We'll work on it. Okay.
Any other questions? I have one.
Okay.
So the now what, is that our plan?
Yes.
Yeah,
Would you please keep us abreast of that?
I certainly can.
Thank you.
I have a question. I have a comment per se. So, like Cheryl said, I know it looks bad, that it is 0%, but we are looking at a different subset of children. You know what I mean? So we have to keep that in mind. These are our special ed children, and sometimes it's gonna be 0. You know what I mean? And like you said, we have all of these things in place, and it might take a while for those things to manifest itself. So I just ask that y'all have a grace with our special ed babies, because it may be, you know what I mean? And I don't think that it is anyone's fault. It's just a slippery thing in special ed, and sometimes you're gonna have that. I've seen that before. I have an autistic nephew. Sometimes he does great, sometimes he doesn't. You know what I mean? But I don't know if I fought anybody for that, or it's just.
Well, trust me, I hate to even kind of keep bringing up the pandemic, but when you look at some of the, math is one of those things that is cumulative, and you
Yeah,
see
they
the
just
need
didn't
for.
have that in the beginning.
And I think that our community was probably more impacted than some of the communities even around us in Wayne County with regard to our attendance and, how many kids actually participated in online learning. We had a lot of our families in general that, especially our more at-risk families that we trend to be students with disabilities,
Yeah.
Who were parenting younger siblings during the time when, other communities may not have impacted that quite as much. But, again, do we want to use that excuse forever and ever? Absolutely not. But it is, we're continuing to see the legs of that across some of those demographic areas. But I'll try to dig in more to the and see if I can do more of a, student identification.
Thank you.
And maybe I'll see if I can talk to Anissa and see if maybe that can tag onto the Pierce or, or the Spring Middle School one.
So we have 475 students that have IEPs.
Yes, and there are, I'm trying to, last year at the end of the year, I was trying to break down by building. We have had years where we've had higher percentages in some buildings than others. It does become a little difficult to completely extrapolate some of that because we have some kids that are attending the cross-categorical classrooms at Vandenberg that might actually be, residents of, Fisher or Jefferson or Adams. So I did start to dig into some of that. I think we really do need to kind of look at whether that programming is something we need to take a look at and whether we might need to have more inclusive opportunities for some of our students to see if they could get diplomas. So that's another goal. So.
That's why I asked about the plan. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure there's a plan. Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is presentation of bond project updates. Mr. Bond.
Thank you, Madam President. So at this time, we have several of our partners joining us this evening from Barton Mallow. And so I will turn it over to Kelly and Kyra and Josh. And then shortly thereafter, we'll be turning it over to Kyla. So with that, here's our partners from Barton Mallow to talk with us about bond updates.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
So I just wanted to let you know, so you don't think it's super weird if Josh videotapes a little bit of this. Because when we construction, we can coming up, you guys don't know, in March, and so we're trying to celebrate our job and give you action shots of things going on, so don't think it's weird. All right. So we just want to give you a little update of things that are going on in the district. We are going to talk about the two projects that are currently under construction, which are the Innovation Center, which is right around the corner from us, as well as Fisher Elementary School. So Innovation Center is wrapping up in their process. As you can see here, we have a couple of snapshots of different aspects of the building. Actually, I think we're actually looking at, two of the three different services. So in the top left, you have a picture of the construction trade / fabrication shop classroom. As you can see, it's looking pretty nice and good. The next one is our fabrication shop, and if you guys take a tour after this meeting is over, you'll see that we actually have the booths going up right now. A lot of the equipment is getting put in place, so it's looking super awesome in there. And then finally, that's a picture of our student store, which is part of the hospitality and tourism section. We also have the health services, which is really neat. I'll tell you one thing, I was walking around on Saturday and I walked into the rooms and they have the actual mannequins down. It completely freaks me out. I looked on the bed, I was like, oh gosh, somebody's scared here. But it's really cool. It's such a great opportunity for the students. I know they're going to enjoy it to be able to learn, and just listening to some of the teachers explain and expound upon their programs. It's so awesome to be a part of this process. TMP did a great job with design. As you can see, everything looks nice and cool and all good, so good to go. The other project that we're currently working through right now is Fisher Elementary School, which if you swing by, we finally got a lot more movement going on.
Yes.
Yes, I know, we're super excited. Pretty much, I would say like 85% of the exterior CMU is up, with one section that we're gonna wait until this upcoming spring break to get started on, but it's going right up.
Kelly, if you may,
Yes.
give a brief rundown. Give a brief rundown about what CMU is for,
Oh, yes.
for those that are not as tied into the vocab.
Sure, that's no
Thank you.
problem.
That's right.
That's no problem at all. Okay. So CMU right here, I'm sorry, are these gray blocks. So the blocks right here, before they're painted, that's going to be the interior walls that you guys may or may not see, depending if you put something in front of it. But between the CMU, we have this insulation that goes on, and then we have the brick that's going to go on. So we're going to keep the building nice and climate controlled with that insulation. Which we're really excited to see. No problem. We're really excited to see the brick go up. We also have some interior pictures here. So you'll see here, and this one that we actually have. This is an interior picture of the group restroom on the first floor, where the students will be able to use it. That's going in place. We have a lot of ductwork in place. We have a lot of piping in place for our fire sprinklers, for our hot water heating lines, as well for our plumbing lines. So things are just raring to go. And we've also started installing the metal studs, which are going to be a lot of the interior partitions. So you can actually see, this is, I believe, looking at going towards Principal Koos's office. So this is actually going to be one of the, I think the kindergarten classrooms or pre-clinic classrooms is right here. And it's going to be a little, another like open space, another room there. But it's actually coming together pretty nicely, and it'll be nice and envisioned just the way the TV showed us. Upcoming work. So this summer we're breaking ground at the last two elementary schools, as well as getting started with our Pierce Middle School construction project. So we currently have not started construction, but I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit of what's going to happen this summer. A lot of the work that you're going to see is going to be beneath the ground. So when you're driving by, you'll see tons of dirt just piling up, because we're going to be installing the underground drainage system. So all of this right here is a bunch of pipes that's going to go in your new parking lot. So that work has to go on first before we can go ahead and do the actual building additions. So that will be happening at both Jefferson as well as Vandenberg. We will also be installing a brand new chiller at both schools, so when the students come back, they'll have a nice, cool and efficiently run building, or almost cool, efficiently run. God bless you. We'll be renovating the classrooms next summer, which will actually switch out the actual interior classroom VUV units. So we'll be doing that, but that is a lot of dirt work going on this summer. And then at Pierce Middle School, we're going to be focusing on primarily the large space areas. So when students come back in the fall, they'll see the gyms will be brand new painted with a great design. We're also going to be updating the cafeteria, as well as the band room and music room. The library learning commons is going to get updated too. And then the teacher's lounge will get updated, as well as the new office, the main office reception. We're going to be expanding the existing reception area, so that way it's not such a big vestibule, but actually more space for the people to work and gather and grow and all that good stuff. We'll also be, which is not shown here, we'll also be installing a second floor teacher's restroom. So the teachers been needing it, and that's going to get in this summer and everything else. The following summer, in 2025, that's when you're going to see us renovate all the classrooms, including upgrading the science labs, so they'll look nice, brand new, and all that good stuff. And that is what we're doing this summer. Upcoming bids. So we have the final bids for Pierce out, which includes some minor mechanical demolition. That's going to be out to bid right now, as well as the casework, and that's for that science lab casework. So that'll be going out. It's out to bid right now, which will be due mid-March. And then we also have remodeling that'll be going on at Thurston High School, which we're going to be bidding out late fall this time of year. And then finally, with that package as well, will be the final Thurston technology package. So we previously did a lot of the classroom renovations at Thurston, so we went through and installed new marker boards, new projectors, and new classroom sound. This is going to get all the rest of the balance of the big spaces that need to have any upgrades, and that'll happen at that time. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Kelly, could you know how we fall like on our timeline of like getting the work done? Like, are we ahead, are we right on schedule, or are we behind?
So overall, for the schools, we're gonna finish Fisher up in 25, which we said in the summer 25. We've shifted a little bit of Jefferson and Vandenberg to finish at the end of summer 25, only because we didn't want to overload this summer, because Fisher's summer project is gonna be huge this summer. It's a lot of work. But other than that, we're pretty much on the same timeline. What I can do is, and I'll email Mr. Bob, or not Mr. Bob.
All good.
How you?
All good.
I'm thinking, sorry. Oh, you will Jason, and with him, the updated timeline, so you guys can see the original versus the current, and then you'll see the overall work.
Any more questions?
I didn't have questions, slide, so.
We're good.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Kelly.
you, guys.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thanks for connecting the work to what the board does at
I
the board
appreciate it.
table.
I
So,
think-
Thank you so much.
notice and
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is discuss Fisher Elementary Pierce Middle School Furniture Project Part 1.
Thank you, Madam President. So at this time, we also have our partners here from Barton Howell that I mentioned a few moments ago. We have Kyla as well as Kyra that are here this evening to talk with us about the Fisher Elementary School Furniture Project. So I will turn it over to the two of them.
Thank you. My name is Kayla Harris. I'm from TMP Architecture. I'm one of the interior designers that's been working with Amy and Jason and a bunch of wonderful staff from all the schools. So I'm so excited to share the furniture with you. Am I able to pull up the presentation on
You can, I don't have the present.
here? Oh, okay.
They have the bid
But they
packet.
do have, each board member has
Okay,
it.
that's okay.
Do you want to borrow this?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Lauren.
No,
Give me
you're
a couple
good.
minutes, let me.
You're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll start off with Fisher Elementary School. So I started with first floor usage plans. So you can see where all the classrooms and really fun spaces land within the school. So we have our new addition, we have our renovation to our existing spaces there, and we have a lot of renovation to our pre-K and special education wings. That's very exciting. We then have our second floor usage plan. So this will house our 4th grade and 5th grade students. And they each have their own collaboration areas within there. So really each grade is going to have their own home base and their own collaborative work environments. So we'll start off with our main office spaces. This is our brand new addition to this space. So this is you walk in and you'll be in the reception. So we have our same seating elements that we have out here in the boardroom, and that's played out really nicely within the district. So we kept that the same here, and guest chairs for any guests that come within the space, and enough seating for 2 staff members within there. And then plenty of storage for our files that will land and also within our storage room. We then have our main office suite. So again, brand new. This is for our principal, our vice principal. We have our school nurse and a conference room off of here. So this will be all brand new systems, furniture, enough space for families to come in here, have that touchdown space with your staff members, and then conference as well for staff members. We also have our nurse's office and our clinic. So we'll have a brand new recovery bed for students if they need to use the space, and then a nurse's office as well. Then we'll move into our specialty spaces. So this is where I really wanted to include some fun furniture items. This will be open to the whole school. So wanted to include tables that have an organic shape. This really allows for a bunch of collaboration with any student that comes and sits at those tables, and some soft seating as well. We named it the Cloud Commons. This is right off of our main entry, so we have a very cool design feature, and so we wanted our furniture to reflect that as well. When I was meeting with Chris, she wanted this to be an organic space, so we have our organic shaped tables, really nice and flows within the space there. Our second floor collaboration is for our 5th grade specifically, and so we upgraded these tables to a flip and nest table, and so space can be cleared out if any STEAM activities need to occur here, and those are writable surface tables as well. We'll then move into our 3rd and 4th grade collaboration, and so this is the same type of table here, and it can clear the space since we're working with a little bit of a smaller collaboration space there too, and the same soft seating that is seen throughout these collaboration spaces. Within Fisher's Library Learning Commons, this is receiving a new renovation and will have our Nest attribute here. So this is really based off the standards that we set at Adams Elementary, and we kept the same furniture similar here as well, since we've seen that work out so great at Adams. So we have our Nest element with number 13 there. Those are our steps. One thing I did want to point out. And just a lot of spaces for group collaboration, some single student work area as well, and plenty of space for all the books within the space. Off of our Library Learning Commons, we also have a breakout room. So this will be for students to come if they need a quieter area to work within a group. They can come within here and have some collaboration work time. And we have a mobile whiteboard and a monitor within there as well for any type of needs. This is a standard that we set at Adams again, like I said. And then moving into STEAM off of that, the same furniture that was installed at Adams Elementary School, we've seen that work out really well for Adams, and so we kept that the same here. These are flip and nest tables, and so when I say that, it's those tables like that same concept where they can flip and turn on themselves and then nest away. So if any STEAM activities need to clear floor space, they can clear that space really easily. As well as mobile storage that has pegboards on the side for any storage items within there. The cafeteria has enough space to fit 200 students total. We are really working with trying to fit in circular tables within this space. We really wanted to emphasize a round table that students can sit at. So we made sure to add those within there too. And I do want to point out, we recommend that 5% of the seating total is open for ADA and wheelchair use. So we do have tables that have the ability to have a wheelchair roll up, and we have a chair that will be there when not in use by a wheelchair. We then have our special education spaces. This will be really the highlight of Fisher. I think this will be a great resource to the district. So we have our special education office, and so this is working with Lisa and Sue. So they'll have brand new furniture within their special education office and a lot of space for storage of all the files as well. We then have the ECC Special Education Classroom, and so all the photos of the furniture are on that slide. And so this is for our youngest special education students within this classroom, and so we have a special type of chair for them. So I think it goes 8 inches off the ground. So this was specially requested by the teacher in that space. We then have our pre-K ASD classroom, again, working very closely with the staff members that will be within the space. So these spaces were very tailored towards the staff members and the students that will be utilizing them. We then have our ASD first floor, and one request was to have individual desks. So we have individual desks within here that can come apart and together as needed for any group work, but also individual work. And I wanted to add too, this is for 1st and 2nd grade on that slide, but this same layout goes for all grades for ASD classrooms, so that is consistent throughout. We also will have a sensory room, and so that dotted line you see will be space for a ceiling-mounted swing. We then have beanbag chairs, grassy ottomans for any sensory plays for any student that needs some hypersensitivity needs. We'll have soft rockers and then tactile wall units as well for any tactile needs. Moving into general classroom furniture, we have our pre-K classroom, and so we worked again with our GSRP requirements, and so this is directly correlated and follows the GSRP requirements that are needed within our pre-K classrooms. We then have, thank you so much, I'm so sorry. We then have our kindergarten and 1st grade classrooms, and again, this is the same furniture installed at Adams' classrooms, and we heard feedback from teachers and staff and made a few adjustments. So the adjustments that you'll see is we went down to 2 lap desks, which is number 4. We didn't see those being utilized as much as within the classrooms. And then moving into 2nd and 3rd grade, we had great feedback from our standing height tables. So we're placing 2 standing height tables within our 2nd and 3rd grade classroom, and then same for 5th and 4th grade classroom as well. So this is all furniture now that students have really got to kick the tires on at Adams, and we've heard great feedback from, so keeping that consistent. And that is all for Fisher. Before I move on to Pierce, I wanted to ask, are there any questions for Fisher's Furniture? Yeah.
Some of the cabinets, that I was looking at, like the special education, number 12 and 10 and 14, are those cabinets and storage spaces mounted to the wall?
So for numbers, the ones that you see are almost in like the birch plywood. Those are not mounted to the wall, but they, by the manufacturer, do not need to be mounted to the wall. There's a certain height, and we work directly with our manufacturers on what their recommendations are and if they need to be mounted. So those items are not 10 and 12. But when we get into the taller, once we reach about like 48 inches high, so like our book stacks within our library learning commons, that's where we have them mounted to the wall by our installers.
So you're going by the manufacturer standard, or
Correct.
do we have like a school standard?
We do not.
If that is a conversation that we need to start mounting furniture to walls, we can definitely start having that.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, so moving into Pierce. So Pierce Middle School, like Kelly was sharing, this is a phased project, so we're only addressing furniture for some areas at this time. So we start with our main office. I can move this back now.
Oh, yeah, sure, no problem.
So our main office, again, keeping it consistent with the soft seating, again, same as what's in our entry here. We found great feedback on that. Our same task chair that we have throughout the district now, this will be a standard. So if you ever have any maintenance issues, we're trying to keep standard furniture so you're not like, oh, what was that chair within this one school? So it'll all be the same here. Anissa's office, this was working directly with Anissa, sit-to-stand desk, a guest table for any touchdown needs. Elizabeth's office, again, a sit-to-stand desk, and utilizing some existing tables. This was a request from your library learning commons. That's furniture that's in great shape, so we didn't want to see that go to waste. And guest chairs within here as well. Our teacher's lounge, this is where we're going to be reutilizing a lot of the library learning commons tables back within our teacher's lounge. Like I said, they're in great shape, so wanted to keep those within the school if possible. So all of number ones are your existing tables, and we'll be purchasing new high tops to have a variety of postures of seating within here, as well as some soft seating to really have this be a touchdown and safe haven for teachers that are utilizing this space. Cafeteria. This is going to be able to fit 230 students. Again, very intentional with our different types of seating here, almost creating that novelty of the cafeteria, allowing for different numbers of groups to sit together. If a student doesn't want to sit at a large group for 12, they have other options here too. And all of this is mobile, all on casters, can flip and move out of the space for any needs to, since we do have our stage. Band classroom, this was again directly with the band classroom teacher. So we have, I'll flip right to these. We have student chairs for 100, and that was for performance needs. So then we also provided carts, so those can be easily moved to any performance need areas. A new conductor stand and music storage as well. For our vocal classroom, working with the vocal staff member here, again, a new conductor's stand, new student chairs, and new mobile storage as well. And then our library learning commons, so we're providing new furniture here. And I'll flip right to the images of the furniture. So again, different postures of seating, creating soft seating elements, and really creating different groupings of the activities that can occur within the library learning commons. So we'll have individual work, group-based work, and we can have full class work as well. It was very intentional with the number of students that can fit within each space. And we'll have tiered seating options too for any presentation needs, and that will be gathered around tech as well. Any questions on Chris's furniture?
To the chair,
Yes.
this might be silly, but are the gray, is that the bookshelves?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a great question. So those items in gray around the perimeter, that is existing bookshelves that we will be
Okay.
keeping.
So is the white bookshelves too, or is that where those screens are?
Those are where the screens are, and then those are mechanical units underneath. They're a bit thicker. Mhm.
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is consider unified swim team application.
Thank you, Madam President. At our previous meeting, the board discussed a partnership between the South Redford School District as well as Redford Union Schools. As Redford Union Schools is closing their pool and has approached the South Redford School District about the possibility of having a unified swim program for both our boys and girls swim teams. I'm recommending a partnership between the South Redford School District as well as Redford Union in forming a unified swim team for both the boys as well as the girls. Should the district choose this option, both districts and the Michigan High School Athletic Association does require board action. Madam President, a resolution is attached for board consideration.
Do I have a board member willing to adopt the resolution?
To the chair?
Yes.
I'd like to move the adoption of the following resolution, please.
Do I have a support?
Support.
It's been moved by Mrs. Fletcher and supported by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
5 ayes, any nays, 0 nays, resolution adopted. Next item on the agenda, consider an ASB board election. That's me. The South Redford School Board is an active member of the Michigan Association of School Boards in Region 8. This year, Region 8 has one seat on the MASB Board of Directors up for election for a 3-year term. The board is eligible to cast one vote. Voting in Region 8 will take place by way of an online ballot. The online voting window is open until March 1st, 2024, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The candidates are listed below: Melanie Hines, Wayne Westland Community Schools; Bridget McQuiston, Lake Orion Community Schools; Evelyn Pridemore, Redford Union School District. The board discussed their selection for a candidate in their meeting on February 12, 2024. A resolution is board consideration. And we need to decide who we want to adopt.
To the chair?
Yes,
The resolution has already put a name in there after a discussion from
okay.
last.
Yeah.
They put Bridget's name in there as our selected candidate already in the resolution.
Oh, okay, good. Do I have a member willing to adopt the resolution?
To the chair. I'd like to move the adoption of the following resolution with Bridget McQuiston as our selected candidate.
Support. It's been adopted by Mrs. Fletcher, supported by Mrs. Early. All in favor?
Aye.
5 ayes. Any nays? 0 nays. Chris, you're gonna
First thing in the morning.
name the person for us?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you. All righty. Resolution adopted for Bridget McQuiston as our Region 8 person. Next item on the agenda, comments from the audience, topics not related to the agenda.
We have not.
There are none. Next item on the agenda is the Plus Delta Plan for Improvement. Mrs. Davidson.
Madam President, what processes help the board's work this evening? Process?
To the chair?
Yes.
I appreciate having the printed out copy for all the presentations, as well as having our speakers actually talk about it and have it on the screen, because I'm a visual learner, so that helps me.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Lisa and Kyla and Sue for their participation, because they really did a good job. And Kelly, you guys did great. Thank you so much.
Madam President, what opportunities for improvement will help the board's work in the future? Deltas?
Are there any? Well, I guess not.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, if there's no further business that comes before this board, I adjourn the meeting at
7:39.
7:39.